I want to tell you a story about two houses, almost identical, both in Lafayette, Louisiana, both in Lafayette proper, both in neighborhoods that have really good reputations and that are very desirable. I brought both to market within about a 4-day span, so came on market at the same time for almost the exact same price, okay? One was slightly larger, so I think it was maybe $12,000 more than the other one, but pretty identical. Let me tell you what happened. One home had multiple offers and went under contract in 3 days. One home sat on the market for 6 weeks with multiple showings before they received their first offer. One sold above list price with no concessions, clean as a whistle. The second one sold for almost $40,000 below appraised value. Let me tell you the difference. Seller A over here did every possible thing they could do to make sure their house is what I like to call the belle of the ball. They showcased their property and their home in its best light. Now, not necessarily the best home on the market in their price point. Matter of fact, home B actually was in a slightly more upscale neighborhood. Home B was actually newer. Home B was actually more updated. But home A sold faster and for more money because everything was done. So they wanted their house to be the absolute best it could be. And they took care of all of the potential things that a buyer might not like or would be a reason that the buyer would not buy the home. I call them sellability items. Here's what they did. The fence was rotten. They tore it down and replaced it. They made sure the roof didn't have a single problem with it. They replaced a water heater that was over 30 years old with an updated tankless. They painted the inside of the house, every wall, every baseboard, every door, and all of the exterior trim. They made sure the yard was neat, mowed, edged, fresh mulch, and kept clean. So that when a buyer experienced their home, by the way, both homes were vacant and staged. When a potential buyer experienced their house, even though it was slightly dated on the inside and the outside, as far as fixtures and finishes and style, a buyer could see themselves living there. And it was fresh and it was new. And the things that would be expensive for a buyer to replace or that would have come up in inspection already done. Oh, and by the way, one more thing. There was some rotten floor in the primary bedroom. They pulled it out, disclosed it, make sure that it was professionally remediated, handled, fixed, and then disclosed. So it was not an issue. House B chose a different path. This home was also vacant, and the sellers over here on House B pushed back on keeping the yard mowed. There were cobwebs everywhere on the back patio. The paint was from probably the late 2000s, so it was this deep, dark tan and this like creamy yellow trim that just made the whole house feel darker than it really should have been, even though there were windows everywhere. There was stained carpet. It smelled musty. And when I walked in to list it, there were dead bugs. It was obvious that nobody had been caring for the home. And so that's how it showed up, not the dead bugs. I made sure there were no dead bugs. And we also made sure it smelled good. But because these sellers over here chose to use words like, oh, a buyer will be able to see past all that. Oh, a buyer will just bring me an offer and I'll give them a paint allowance. Or, oh, I didn't care about that when I bought this house. A buyer's not really going to care about that. Oh, it doesn't really matter the condition of the patio. $40,000. Later, I would say it matters. So a tale of two houses. By the way, several sets of buyers looked at both houses in their house search. So if you want the biggest opportunity to sell your home for above list price in the fewest amount of days for the most top dollar, then your goal as a seller is to have your home be the belle of the ball, the best it can be. Not necessarily the best house, but the best your house can be. Let's be proactive and let's overcome things on the front end that would keep a buyer from buying your home on the back end. Let's be seller A, not seller B.